All right, when we say the converse of the Pythagorean theorem, all right, so we're in 9.6 today. What do you think converse means? Any guess? Any guesses?
Reverse.
Yes, that's exactly right. Okay, so he's very surprised. Converse of the Pythagorean theorem means that we're actually going to prove a right triangle in reverse. So we're going to have all of the dimensions that we need to plug into the Pythagorean theorem. We're going to plug them in and see if they do in fact equal each other, and that will prove whether it's a right triangle. So if the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared is true, then the triangle is a right triangle. If that equation is true, then the triangle is a right triangle. So what we're going to do today, okay, I just want to focus on this concept today, and then tomorrow we're going to look at the graph part of it. But I'm going to give you a triangle like this, like on your homework assignment. And what I want you to do is plug in these numbers where they would go in the Pythagorean theorem. So we just have to make sure that we get C in the right location. All right, C is my what? Starts with an H?
Hypotenuse.
It's my hypotenuse. So as long as I get that one in the right place, then my A and my B are interchangeable, okay? So we always want to start with our original formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right, so raise your hand. What value would you plug in for A? What value? Andrew? 9. If you said 40, 40 could work too. So we're going to say 9 squared plus 40 squared equals 41 squared. How did I know that 41 needed to be my, I don't know why I put a 0 there. I know, I'm going back. How did I know 41 needed to be my hypotenuse?
Like the right angle points towards
Yes, very good. So here's my right angle. This is a cross. And we also know hypotenuse is always going to be the longest side length. And 41 is the longest side. All right. So now I can add these together. 9 squared plus 40 squared. This is 81 plus 1600, which is going to be 1681. So what the converse of the Pythagorean theorem says is if 41 squared is 1681, then this is in fact a right triangle. So let's test it. What's 41 times 41? 1681 again. So because 1681 equals 1681, I say yes. Okay? It is a right triangle because they both equal. All right, I want you to go ahead and do the second one with your table buddies. Go ahead and work on the second one together. Remember, if both sides equal out, then it is a right triangle. Okay, so, all right, so this one was a little tougher. Which one did you say was C, or your hypotenuse? 24. Now, the right angle was a little harder to identify, but I do know that 24 is the longest side, and that's another hint on the hypotenuse, is that it's the longest side length. So 18 squared plus 12 squared equals 24 squared. And when I evaluate those exponents, I get 324 plus 144 equals 576. Did y'all get that? When you add them, you get 468 and 576. Do those equal?
No.
So you say no. All right. Okay, go ahead and practice this next one. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a different setup. I'm going to give you actually 2 of these. Okay, problems. The first one says, tell whether the triangle with the given side lengths is a right triangle. So when you're looking at these three side lengths, okay, you don't necessarily know which one is across from the right angle, but you do know that second clue that tells you the hypotenuse. Which one was that? We just said it. It's the longest side length. The longest side length. So go ahead and try that, okay? Now that you know the longest side length is my hypotenuse, you can tell which one should go in for C. Go ahead and test to see if these angles form a right triangle. I'm sorry, side lengths form a right triangle. All right, so we have 21 squared plus 20 squared equals 28 squared. All right, what is 21 squared?
441.
Yep. What's 20 squared?
400.
And what's 28 squared?
784.
Okay, and so we have 841 and 784. Do those equal? No. Okay, you're gonna have a homework problem, so I'm gonna give you one more that's similar to what your homework problem would be. All right, so instead of those numbers, I'm gonna give you a different one. What if I gave you the numbers 4, the square root of 15, and 6? Okay, so you have one homework problem where it throws in the square root of a number that is actually not a perfect square. So we have to determine first which one of these values is the largest value, because that tells you hypotenuse. Okay? Well, we know square root of 15 is closest to what perfect square? Square root of 15 is real close to what perfect square?
4.
What's the
16.
16, right? What's the square root of 16?
4.
Is there any way that's going to be more than 6? No. Okay? So even though we don't definitively know the square root of 15, we know there's no way it's going to be more than 6, because that would be 36, right? Okay, so it does not matter if this is A or B, okay? All that matters is that I plug that in for C. So here we go. 4 squared plus the square root of 15 squared equals 6 squared. Well, this is kind of interesting. The square root of 15 squared. What does that look like to you? And yes, okay, somebody got it. Those are inverses. To square the square root, do you guys remember that those cancel out? Okay, so when I'm squaring the square root, that actually cancels out. So I have 16 plus 15. Does everybody understand why I only have 15? Because the square root and the square, those are inverse operations, so they actually cancel each other out. So I just bring the number down. Equals, what is 6 squared? 36. So now I need to add these together. If they equal 36, it's a right triangle. What's 16 plus 15? 31. Does not equal 36, so your answer is no. Okay? All right, so we have one more example that I want to cover tomorrow. We have a little bit of a slow week, so I want to focus on these concepts on tonight's homework. So we're going to save number 20, which it's on your, you see number 20 is the last problem on your homework assignment. We're going to save that one for tomorrow. You do not have to do that one tonight. Okay, so don't have to do number 20, but all the rest of them will be very similar to the problems that we just practiced. All right, so we're going to spend the next 15 minutes or so starting on homework and lots of practice on proving, using given angle measurements, to prove, is it a right triangle or is it not? We're going to use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. All right, so that's it for today.